Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, and welcome to a very different style of video today. While everybody is looking to the future for Black Ops Cold War and everything else that's happening to the Call of Duty franchise, today I wanted to look back to the past. In March of 2014, I made my very first top 10 video where I went over my favorite guns in the Call of Duty franchise. Now for context, the current game at that time was Advanced Warfare, right? And since then, a lot has happened. We've had Black Ops 3, Modern Warfare Remastered, Infinite Warfare, Call of Duty World War II, and of course, Modern Warfare 2019, and even the Black Ops Cold War Alpha and Beta, if you want to count them. A lot has changed about the franchise in the 6.5 years since I made a video like this, and in turn, my opinion of the various weapons throughout the entire Call of Duty franchise has changed as well. Today, we're going to be remastering an old video of mine. We're going to be counting down my top 10 favorite guns in the entire history of the Call of Duty franchise, and without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's jump right into it. The Ripper. So the Ripper is the first weapon in Call of Duty history to actually bridge the gap between submachine gun and assault rifle. Now obviously we've had a number of submachine guns with good range in the Call of Duty franchise, but the Ripper is a weapon that would literally swap fire rates at the press of a button, and I absolutely love that. You can swap the strength of your weapon going into each engagement, and that feeling that you got when you made the right swap at the right time and get kills as a result of it is incredible. Since the Ripper first appeared in Call of Duty Ghosts, we have had a few weapons that have tried to replicate it. We had the RPR Evo in Infinite Warfare, which had similar characteristics, and in Call of Duty World War II, we had the ZK383, but the original Ripper submachine gun slash assault rifle from Call of Duty Ghosts is my favorite of the bunch, and that's why it comes in here at number 10. It was so versatile, it was so fun, and I really hope to see more weapons like this going forward in the Call of Duty franchise. The M1A1 Carbine. So a bit of a history lesson here. The M1A1 was the final weapon you could unlock in Call of Duty World at War. You got it at level 65, which was the level cap in that game, and as a result, you didn't really see people using it a whole lot. Basically, if everybody was prestiging, which let's be real here, most people prestige, basically, if you're going through those prestiges, you hit level 65, you make a class with the M1A1, you use it for one level, and then you prestige again, right? Because of this, most people didn't really get to use the M1A1 unless they stopped at a certain prestige or if they made it all the way to 10th prestige, but for those people who actually got to use the M1A1 and actually unlock attachments for it, they quickly learned just how amazing this gun was. It was a rifle that had zero recoil, it was a 2 to 4 shot kill at all ranges, and it had really no fire rate cap whatsoever. Back in Call of Duty World at War, they basically let players go wild with all these semi-automatic rifles, so the faster you could pull the trigger, the crazier the rifles would become, and the M1A1 in the right hands was absolutely insane. They did try to nerf it a couple of times because a bunch of losers back in the day got modded controllers which would make the M1A1 fully automatic, but even then, if you had a really good trigger finger, the M1A1 was incredibly deadly back in World at War, and it would later return in Call of Duty World War II, and even though it wasn't as wild as it was back in the day, it was still a top tier semi-automatic rifle within Call of Duty World War II, and it could shred through players when used correctly. Because I have such a long history with World at War, I have a bit of an affinity with semi-automatic rifles here in the Call of Duty franchise, and of all the semi-automatic rifles that we've ever seen in this franchise, the M1A1 Carbine is my personal favorite. I loved it in World at War, I loved it in Call of Duty World War II, and that's why it comes in here at number 9. The AK-74U. So the AK-74U is an incredible all-around weapon. Like the Ripper, which came in at number 10, it sort of bridges the gap between submachine gun and assault rifles, especially in Call of Duty 4, where it had assault rifle-style wall penetration. The slow fire rate and the high damage made it a gun that was good in almost all situations, provided you had good enough reaction time and could hit your shots at those longer ranges. It basically feels like a baby version of the AK-47 AK-47, and in every game that's been featured in, it's an absolute monster. Think about this, guys. In Call of Duty 4, the AK-74U was great. In Black Ops 1, it was hands down the best submachine gun in that game. In Black Ops 3, it was apparently good, but it was a supply drop weapon, which was dumb, and therefore I couldn't actually use it. And then, of course, in Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War's beta and alpha stages, it was a solid all-around submachine gun, with it being completely broken in the alpha before being nerfed going into the beta. The weapon that we see currently in Black Ops Cold War in the beta stage is a solid, reliable submachine gun, and it brings back lots of great memories for me that date back over a decade, so I definitely am going to be using this gun quite a bit in Black Ops Cold War, and because I've used this gun so much throughout the entire history of the Call of Duty franchise, it comes in here at number 8. The MosinNagant. So it's no secret that I'm not much of a sniper these days, right? I mean, you don't really see me snipe in any of my videos or in my live streams. In Black Ops Cold War's alpha and beta stages, I did snipe quite a bit because it was so ridiculously easy, but the fact remains true, in recent years I haven't really been sniping a whole lot. But, with that being said, back in the day, I used to love sniping in the Call of Duty franchise. It started off with the M40A3 and the Barrett 50 cal in Call of Duty 4, and then when World at War came out, I fell in love with the old school bolt-action sniper rifles that could be used on those giant maps. My personal favorite sniper in World at War, and still my favorite sniper of all time in the Call of Duty franchise, was the MosinNagant. I love this gun so much that I went out and bought one in real life. It's actually pretty easy to get these things in the United States. They only run anywhere from $100 to $150. Like the one I have literally has 1943 engraved on the weapon itself. You see the hammer and sickle. It was an actual MosinNagant that was made during the Second World War, and I love that. But unfortunately, Call of Duty has basically done away with the idea of the World War II shooter, right? We've only had 2 of them over the course of the past 12 years, and that means that weapons like the MosinNagant are basically forgotten to the past. We've only seen the MosinNagant twice in the past decade, which of course was in World at War and in Call of Duty World War II, but regardless of that, the MosinNagant is still my favorite sniper in the history of the Call of Duty franchise, and I really would like to see it return for Black Ops Cold War in one way or another. I mean, it's a Cold War themed game, the Russians are going to be there, the MosinNagant could be added, fingers crossed, because again, this is my favorite sniper rifle in the history of the Call of Duty franchise, and that's why it comes in here at number 7. The STG-44. So we now have our second World War II era weapon in a row, and our third World War II era weapon in this video, but yeah, the STG-44 here, guys, is one of my favorite guns in Call of Duty history. This is a weapon that has actually been featured in a lot of different Call of Duty games. We had it as the MP-44 in Call of Duty 4, of course the STG-44 was in World at War, we saw the gun return in Advanced Warfare, and we also saw it within Call of Duty World War II. It's been a staple weapon in zombies as well across multiple games, so even games where it wasn't available in multiplayer, it was available in zombies and in campaign, and the reason why the STG comes in here at number 6 is because of the sheer nostalgia that I have with this gun. In Call of Duty World at War, it was the only full auto assault rifle in the entire game, and it was one of my most used weapons as a result of that. Each time they would bring back the STG in the later games, I would always use it for old time's sake, and the best thing about the STG is it's actually pretty great in virtually every title that it's featured in. It's a World War II era weapon that is competitive even in futuristic games like Advanced Warfare, and in Call of Duty World War II, I would argue that it's one of the best guns in the entire multiplayer. The STG is always a lot of fun to use, and every time I play with it, I'm reminded of when I was 16 years old and getting into the Call of Duty franchise for the very first time, and so for all these reasons, I had to put it here at number 6. I love the STG. I doubt it's going to be in Black Ops Cold War, and I doubt it's going to be in any future Call of Duty games, at least in the immediate future, but regardless, I love this gun. It's been around for a long time in the Call of Duty franchise, and that's why it comes in here at number 6. The Combat Shotgun. So this pick is a bit difficult to explain because I'm more or less talking about pump-action shotguns in general as compared to the combat shotgun itself, right? Because the combat shotgun has only technically been featured in a few Call of Duty games. Most notably, it appeared as the trench gun back in Call of Duty World at War, where it was awful. I would argue it was the worst shotgun in the history of the Call of Duty franchise, besides maybe the blunderbuss, but the trench gun was so bad. It had a bayonet attachment, and that bayonet attachment was more worthwhile than actually shooting the trench gun because it was hit marker city, assuming of course you could even hit your target with that gun. It was so bad back in World at War, but then we saw the combat shotgun in Call of Duty World War II, and it was freaking amazing. The real life name of this gun is the Winchester Model 1897, and the gun itself performs incredibly similarly to most other pump action shotguns in Call of Duty history. I mean, in terms of real life, the combat shotgun is very different than something like, say, the Remington 870 from Black Ops 2, but in-game, they're basically the same gun in terms of performance, right? In Call of Duty World War II, the combat shotgun was my top weapon on my combat record, which means I have more kills with the combat shotgun in that game than I do any other weapon, and that's because I love using pump-action shotguns in the Call of Duty franchise. There is something so fun about giving up all your power at range in exchange for being super good in close quarters. It causes you to play in a much different way than you usually would, and that's why the combat shotgun comes in here at number 5. But I will say, however, this spot basically goes to any pump action shotgun in Call of Duty history, because every year we have a pump action shotgun, and every year it has a different name and a different model, but they all do basically the same thing, right? We're talking about the R870, we're talking about the W1200, we're talking about the trench gun and the combat shotgun, and basically all the pump actions. I love them. They're very fun to use. The combat shotgun's my personal favorite of the bunch, and here's the hoping that the Hauer 77 in Black Ops Cold War does get buffed, because it's basically the combat shotgun, it's basically the trench gun, but it was god-awful during the Cold War alpha and beta stages. The AK-47. So this is a gun that we all knew was going to make it onto this list, but coming in here at number 4, we have the classic, the tried and true, and the iconic AK-47. I would have to go back and do a proper count, but this gun has to be towards the very top of the list for number of times a single gun has been featured in the Call of Duty franchise. It made its first appearance in Call of Duty 4, then it was available in Modern Warfare 2, it was there in Black Ops 1, we saw it in Modern Warfare 3, we saw it in Advanced Warfare, and then of course Modern Warfare 2019. But keep in mind as well, variants of the AK-47 have also been featured in other Call of Duty games, like the AK-12 for example. This gun is iconic. I don't think I should spend too much time talking about this gun because everybody seems to love it, but for me personally, the iron sights, the appearance, the sound, and the generally high damage of this gun make it one of my favorites to use in virtually any shooter game, not even just the Call of Duty franchise. I'm happy that this gun is returning for Black Ops Cold War, and no doubt it will be one of my top weapons in that game once it comes out, because there are very few weapons in Call of Duty history that are as iconic and as much of a core staple to the Call of Duty franchise as the AK-47, and that's why, ladies and gentlemen, it comes in here at number 4. The MP5. Here we have one of the most iconic submachine guns in the Call of Duty franchise. I fell in love with this gun when it was first added to the franchise in Call of Duty 4, and it's been one of my favorites in every Call of Duty game that it's appeared in. It doesn't matter if we're talking about the regular MP5 or even the MP5K, I love this weapon because of how consistent it is, how amazing it looks, and of course the history that I have with the weapon. I remember back in high school using this gun in Search and Destroy on Call of Duty 4, and here I am 13 years later still using that same gun in the Black Ops Cold War beta. It's crazy how much time I've spent with this franchise, and it's fun to me that I can use weapons that I loved as a teenager and then 13 years later still be able to use them in newer Call of Duty games as I'm approaching 30, for crying out loud. The MP5 will always be one of my all-time favorite guns in the Call of Duty franchise, and for that reason it comes in here at number 3.
I haven't thought about that yet.
Okay.
Okay. Where did they get that?
Where'd they get that?
Definitely not from me. Calm down, Joe.
Go on, Joe! Go on, Joe! I'm going home. I'm going home. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. I gotta get off.
The Thompson. So this may come as a bit of a surprise pick for some of you, but the Tommy gun comes in here at number 2 because it's my all-time favorite submachine gun in the Call of Duty franchise. Now, while obviously we have weapons like the MP5 and the Ripper and the AK-74U also on this list, the Thompson is still my favorite submachine gun in the history of the Call of Duty franchise because of the history of the weapon, because it's synonymous with World War II, and because we don't actually see it a lot here in the Call of Duty franchise. Inaccessibility breeds desire, and the Tommy gun has only been featured in World at War and Call of Duty World War II. That's it, right? Unless you count the pre-Call of Duty 4 games, though I personally don't, because 1, I didn't play those games in their prime, and because B, it predated things like credit class and customization. Like, those old school Call of Duty games almost feel like an entirely different franchise at this point. I basically start the beginning of the COD franchise at Call of Duty 4 and then continue on from there. And if you look at it that way, the Tommy gun has only been featured in 2 total games. Now, obviously, we have seen variants of it in Zombies over the years, and you could argue that the ASM-1 in Advanced Warfare was basically a futuristic Tommy gun, but it's not the Tommy gun that we all know and love. This is hands down my favorite submachine gun in the Call of Duty franchise, and I pray to Vonderhaar that it somehow appears in Black Ops Cold War. I would absolutely love to see this gun return, because to me, it's iconic, it's consistent, it's fun, and I have so many great memories combating all those MP40 Juggernaut nerds back in the day with my stopping power Thompson. I would argue that this is one of the most iconic looking weapons in the entire world, and because of that, I would love to see it return for Cold War, and I think a lot of other people would agree with that. Here's to hoping that the Tommy gun does return to the Call of Duty franchise soon, but for right now, it's pretty much allocated to this nostalgic list of weapons, and for all these reasons, ladies and gentlemen, it comes in here at number 2. The M16. So coming in here at number 1, we have my all-time favorite weapon in the Call of Duty franchise, the M16. Now, unlike the Thompson, this weapon has been featured in tons of different Call of Duty games, and it's been good in pretty much all of them, but it was never really all that great. Now, obviously, the M16 in Call of Duty 4 and Modern Warfare Remastered was completely busted, right? It was overpowered, it was broken, but that's not why I like this weapon. That's not why it's my favorite gun in the history of the franchise. I like the M16 because I love burst rifles. There's just something about burst rifles that click with me and my playstyle. I think it's because they're amazing at range, but they can also be pretty good up close if you have a little bit of lucky hipfire, and they're so efficient at killing players really quickly and consistently. The thing about the M16 is I like this gun because of its look and its feel, not necessarily for its power, if that makes any sense, right? Obviously, like I said, in Call of Duty 4 and Modern Warfare Remastered, the M16 was overpowered, but let's take a look at the other games. In Modern Warfare 2, the FAMAS was a better burst rifle than the M16. In Black Ops 1, the G11 was a better burst rifle than the M16. In Modern Warfare 3, the Type 95 was a better burst rifle than the M16. And then, of course, in Black Ops 4, throwing spitwads at your target was a better form of a burst rifle than the M16. Even though the gun itself has not been the best burst rifle since 2007, I still love it, right? I think it's because it's been featured in so many different Call of Duty games over the years that it's just iconic to me. It's a gun that I love using. It's consistent. It brings back so many great memories from Call of Duty 4 and Modern Warfare 2 and Black Ops 1. And even though it's not overpowered, I'm fine with that because I don't like using overpowered guns anyway. I would much rather use an underrated weapon and do really well with that as compared to going with the meta gun or the flavor of the month gun every single time I play. And thankfully, the M16 is returning for Black Ops Cold War, and it does appear to be pretty damn good, so I'm pretty excited to see how far I can push the M16 within Black Ops Cold War. And going back to the older games, just one more time here, it's still my all-time favorite weapon to use because I love burst rifles, I love the look of the gun, I love the real-life history of the gun, I love everything about it, and the fact that it was never really overpowered outside of Call of Duty 4 and Modern Warfare Remastered just make me like it even more because when I do well with it, it kind of feels good as compared to using the broken gun or the best gun, you know? So the M16, it's iconic. It's been around for so long. It's returning for Cold War. I'm super excited about that. And for all these reasons, ladies and gentlemen, it comes in here at number 1. And guys, There you have it. There is my remastered top 10 list of weapons here in the Call of Duty franchise. When I first made this video all those years ago, I would talk about the individual guns in individual games. Like, for example, I believe I chose the Call of Duty 4 AK-47 as one of the guns on that list. But here today, I thought I would do something a little bit different. And instead of, like, naming off the individual game that individual gun was in, I just discussed the guns in general, right? The AK-47 across all of the Call of Duty games, the M16 across all of the Call of Duty games, right? And I would love to hear down in the comments, what are your favorite weapons in the history of the Call of Duty franchise? Leave your thoughts and feedback down below. I hope you guys all enjoyed this video. If you did, consider leaving a like. If you'd like to see more content like this, be sure to subscribe, and of course, let me know if you want to see more list videos like this. But until then, I hope you guys all enjoyed. Thank you all so much for listening, and I hope you guys all have a wonderful day.